Hey everybody, it's Ron from Pick Dawgz, and this is Ron's Rundown. We're going to go over the MLB games scheduled for Thursday, September 14th, 2023. Now, if you like what you see, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to put your baseball picks in the comment section below. And if you're looking for my best bets, including my $19 rundown best bet, you can find those at the premium picks tab at pickdawgz.com. Alrighty, let's get into it. Here are the games for Thursday in Major League Baseball. First up, we see the Pittsburgh Pirates taking on the Washington Nationals. Mitch Keller and Josiah Gray are your projected starters. Mitch Keller has been a lot better at PNC Park this season. Similarly, Josiah Gray has been a lot better on the road this year. So I think we have a nice pitcher's duel in this game. Mitch Keller struggled mightily his last game, but that was on the road against the Atlanta Braves, the toughest lineup in baseball against righties. And like I said, Keller's been so much better at home. On the road this season, Keller got an ERA above 5. At home at PNC Park, a 6-3 record and 82 innings of work with a 3.18 ERA and a much lower opponent's batting average. I think Keller bounces back here, pitches pretty well. Josiah Gray on the other side, an ERA just below 6 at home this season, but on the road in 87 2/3 innings, a 3.08 ERA, much lower opponent's batting average by 37 points, a better strikeout rate, fewer home runs given up. So I think we see a low-scoring game. Give me the under here in Washington-Pittsburgh. Next up, we see the Cincinnati Reds taking on the Detroit Tigers. No official starter for Cincinnati, but Reese Olson should be going for Detroit. And Olson's in pretty good form for the Tigers lately. Look at his last 3 starts, giving up 2 earned runs or fewer all those games. Decent strikeout numbers. The control's been there. He's only given up 1 home run in those 3 games combined. And I know it hasn't been the toughest lineups. The White Sox and Yankees, 2 weak teams in the American League. But, the Cincinnati Reds have not been the best team in the second half of the season. And I do think Olson could put together a solid quality start for his team. The Cincinnati Reds could be going with the bullpen game. We know their pitching staff dealing with some injuries. They dealt with COVID a week ago, and they're still trying to recover from that. But in the last month, Cincinnati's bullpen, in terms of the expected numbers, not the best numbers there. So I am a little bit concerned with that. Give me the Detroit Tigers on the money line. Next up, we see the Miami Marlins taking on the Milwaukee Brewers. Yuri Perez and Adrian Hauser are your projected starters. Tough game for me. I'm going to lean towards the Marlins here, but I also think the over is worth a look. It's a tough spot for Yuri Perez. I think he's the better option on the mound. That's why I would lean towards Miami. But it's a tough spot for him because he's been on the road quite a bit lately. He pitched at Los Angeles against the Dodgers. Then he went back home against the Nationals, but then went on the road in D.C. against the Nationals again, and then on the road against the Phillies. So this is going to be his 4th road start in his last 5 games, which we know Perez has been a lot better at Lone Depot Park. Adrian Hauser, this is going to be his first start back in a while from injury. He was placed on the 15-day injured list, and he wasn't pitching too well before being placed on the injured list. He was giving up a lot of sharp contact. His last game against the Padres in only 2 innings of work, giving up 4 earned runs. The Marlins do have a lot better numbers against righties in the last month than the Brewers do, but I do think Milwaukee has the better bullpen. So, like I said, not my favorite game in terms of a side. I would lean towards the over here, but probably a game I'll be staying away from. Next up, we see the Arizona Diamondbacks taking on the New York Mets. Merrill Kelly and Kodai Senga are your starters. I would say neither of these starting pitchers had their best stuff in their last starts. Merrill Kelly walked 5 batters in 5 2/3 innings. Kodai Senga also had some issues with the Minnesota Twins his last game. He walked 4 batters, gave up a home run, gave up 2 runs in that one. But still, because of how, it goes to show you how good these starting pitchers are, because even when they don't have their best stuff, Senga still finished with a quality start on paper, 6 innings, 2 runs, and honestly, his last inning of the outing was probably his best of the start. And Merrill Kelly also went 5 2/3 of 1-run baseball, so just 1 out shy of being a quality start as well. So even when they don't have their best stuff, they're still giving their teams a chance to win and giving them some decent innings. And I think both of these pitchers pitch well in this game. Kodai Senga has been strong at Citi Field this season, where he's got a sub-3 ERA on the year. Merrill Kelly, even though he's been better at Chase Field, he's still been decent on the road this season with a 3.53 ERA. Give me the under, especially in the first 5 innings, but I think we get under in the full game as well. Next up, we see the Texas Rangers taking on the Toronto Blue Jays. Nathan Eovaldi and Kevin Gausman are your starters. I think the Blue Jays have a pretty sizable advantage in the pitching side of the game in this particular matchup, even beyond the starting pitching matchup, where I still think, Gausman is the better option. But when you look at the bullpens, where a lot of games are decided late, the Rangers bullpen in the second half of the season, we know has not been a strength for this team. In the last month, an ERA just below 5, and the expected numbers right around the middle of the pack in the league. But the Blue Jays bullpen in the last month, third best Sierra and a 3.63 ERA to go with it. So I'm going to take Toronto in this matchup. I don't really love the form that Eovaldi is in. He hasn't been pitching deep into games. We saw him struggle mightily against the Astros back on September 5th, his first start back. Gave up 2 home runs and 4 earned runs early in that outing. Give me the Blue Jays on the money line. Next up, we see the Tampa Bay Rays taking on the Baltimore Orioles. Aaron Savale and Kyle Bradish are your projected starters. Yeah, I mentioned the last time Bradish was on the mound that he's just been one of the more consistent starting pitchers in baseball this season. His ERA has been in the low threes basically all year. I mean, he gives up usually 2 earned runs or fewer in his starts. We've seen that since August 1st. He hasn't given up more than 2 runs in a start since August 1st. He had a 2.12 ERA in the month of August. So far in September, 2 road outings, 2 wins for the Orioles, and 2 quality starts for Bradish with good strikeout numbers to go with it. I gotta take the Orioles in this game. I mean, the Rays dealing with some injuries. Yandy Diaz and Jose Siri may or may not be playing in this ball game. And Aaron Savale, even though he's been good on the road this season, his last couple of starts against the Mariners and Red Sox, giving up 7 earned runs in 10 1/3 innings. Not where you want to see it. Give me the Orioles on the money line at Camden Yards. Next up, we see the New York Yankees taking on the Boston Red Sox. We'll see Michael King for New York, no official starter for Boston. So it could be 2 bullpen games for these 2 teams. We saw them play a doubleheader on Tuesday. The Yankees swept that doubleheader, and it was they were led by their pitching. The pitching's been good for the Yankees this season for the most part. The starting rotation has been inconsistent, but the bullpen's been there all season long virtually. An ERA in the last month at 3.25, and Michael King's been pretty sharp in his starting pitching role. I think he's the better option here. The Red Sox bullpen in the last month, when you look at the ERA above 4, the Sierra is the 10th or the 9th highest in the league, so not really where you want to be. I think the Yankees win this game. Give me the New York Yankees on the money line. Next up, we see the Minnesota Twins taking on the Chicago White Sox. Kenta Maeda for Minnesota, no official starter for Chicago. We know it's been a disappointing season for the White Sox this year, but I will say, at least their offense is putting up a fight. I mean, we saw in that doubleheader against the Royals where the Royals in Game 2 took a 9-0 lead early. The White Sox were able to come all the way back and tie that game, but of course, in typical White Sox fashion, they weren't able to find the win as the Royals found a couple of runs late and went on to win that game 11-10. But still, the White Sox offense is not in a bad place right now, and Kenta Maeda has not been in the best of form lately. He struggled against these White Sox earlier this season, giving up 4 earned runs, taking the loss in that game. I do think the White Sox put up a fight, but we know their bullpen has not been great this season. And if this is a bullpen game, I do think Minnesota, strong lineup, will be able to get to it. The White Sox bullpen in the last month, an ERA just below 5, and not the best expected numbers to go with it. So give me the over here in Minnesota, Chicago. Next up, we see the final game for Thursday's card in Major League Baseball. The San Francisco Giants and the Colorado Rockies. Logan Webb and Chase Anderson are your projected starters. Now, we saw Logan Webb pitch against these Rockies at Coors Field earlier this season, back on June 7th. Wasn't his best outing, wasn't his worst outing in terms of Coors Field standards, and the Giants went on to win that game 5-4, so he was good enough to keep them in the game. Logan Webb's career numbers at Coors Field, not the best numbers, not the worst numbers, but he keeps his team in games, he keeps the ball on the ground, gives them some decent innings, and I think he's the much better option to start this game, as well as the Giants having the much better option in the bullpen in this series, in this matchup. Chase Anderson 0-5 this season, an ERA above 6. His last game against the San Francisco Giants gave up 6 earned runs in that one and a loss 9-1. I can't really trust him here. We saw Logan Webb pitch against the Rockies last start, 6 innings of shutout baseball at Oracle Park, and the Rockies bullpen in the last month, an ERA above 5 with the second highest Sierra. Give me the San Francisco Giants on the run line. And that's it. Those are the games for Thursday in Major League Baseball. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. And don't forget to put your baseball picks in the comments section below. Again, if you're looking for my best bets, you can find those at Pick Dawgz Premium. As always, this is Ron Romanelli. Good luck.